Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins All World. If you're a fan of rare finds and discovering hidden gems in your pocket change, today's video is just for you. We're about to dive deep into a coin that might be sitting in your collection or even in your spare change right now, the 1973 United States 5-cent nickel. Now, when you think of a nickel, you might picture the common 5-cent coin you see everywhere, but let me tell you, the 1973 nickel is far more interesting and valuable than you might think. Stick around because you'll be surprised by just how much this coin could be worth. The U.S. 5-cent nickel has a rich history, with the design evolving over time. In 1938, the famous Jefferson nickel design was introduced, featuring President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his home, Monticello, on the reverse. This design remained in place for decades, but by the 1970s, there were still a few key features making certain coins from this era stand out, especially the 1973 nickel. What makes the 1973 nickel so significant is not just its design, but the minting process and a few interesting circumstances that surrounded the coin's production. For one, 1973 marked the beginning of a series of changes in how the U.S. Mint handled coinage, including alterations to the composition of some coins due to rising metal prices. The nickel, being a mix of copper and nickel, was affected by these changes, making the coins from the early 1970s more notable among collectors. Now, let's talk about why the 1973 5-cent coin is so desirable. You might be wondering, what makes this nickel so special? The answer lies in a couple of key factors. First off, the 1973 nickel has a relatively low mintage, which means fewer of these coins were produced in comparison to others from the same period. This immediately increases its rarity and makes it more attractive to collectors. However, even with a lower mintage, the main factor that boosts the value of the 1973 nickel is its condition. As with any coin, the better the condition, the higher the value. The 1973 nickel wasn't produced with the highest level of care. It was part of regular circulation, and over the years, many of these coins have seen significant wear and tear. The harsh treatment it received in circulation means that finding a 1973 nickel in mint condition is already a rare and exciting find. If you've got a 1973 nickel that's been carefully stored, free from tarnish, scratches, or any other damage, you're already holding onto something much more valuable than a simple 5-cent coin. But wait, it gets even more interesting. Another reason the 1973 nickel is so valuable is the possibility of mint errors. Mint errors are a huge deal in the world of coin collecting. These coins are often unique because they weren't produced according to standard specifications. And when it comes to the 1973 nickel, there are a few key errors that could significantly increase its value. For instance, some 1973 nickels were struck with misalignments, off-center strikes, or doubling in the design. These types of minting errors make the coin stand out, and collectors go wild for them. If you happen to find a 1973 nickel with one of these mistakes, it could be worth much more than you ever expected. So, how much is a 1973 nickel actually worth? Well, in general, the typical 5-cent nickel in average condition won't fetch a huge amount. However, if you've got one in near-perfect condition, or if you have one with a rare minting error, then the value can skyrocket. If you're holding on to a 1973 nickel that's in excellent condition, you could be looking at a value that far exceeds the coin's face value. But here's the real jaw-dropper: if you have a 1973 nickel that's in pristine condition, with a significant minting error, you could be sitting on a coin worth an astounding $55,900. Yes, you heard that correctly, $55,900. For a single 5-cent coin. It's incredible how a small, seemingly ordinary nickel can be worth so much, but that's the power of rare, well-preserved coins with minting errors. If you happen to find a 1973 nickel that fits this description, you could be looking at a small fortune. So, what should you do now? Take a look through your collection and check your spare change. You never know, that old jar of nickels might hold a hidden treasure. If you happen to find a 1973 nickel in great condition or with a minting error, you could be holding on to something that will make a significant impact on your collection, and possibly your bank account. Today, We're about to take a deep dive into a coin that might be sitting in your collection right now, or perhaps even in your change jar, the 1964 United States 5-cent nickel. Now, you might think a nickel from the 1960s is just an average coin, but let me tell you, this one has a story to tell, and it could be worth way more than you think. The United States 5-cent nickel has been around for more than a century, and over the years, it's seen a number of changes in its design and composition. Introduced in 1866, the Jefferson nickel, which features President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his home, Monticello, on the reverse, has become one of the most iconic coins in American history. By 1964, the design had been in circulation for nearly 30 years, but it was still the coin many people use daily. But, as we know, the value of coins doesn't just come from their age or design. It's the condition, rarity, and special characteristics that truly make a coin worth a lot of money. And that's where the 1964 nickel comes into play. At first glance, this coin might look just like any other circulating nickel from the era. It's the same Jefferson design, with the recognizable portrait of Jefferson and the familiar image of Monticello on the reverse. So what makes this particular coin so special and valuable to collectors? First, let's talk about the 1964 nickel's composition. Unlike modern nickels, which are made from a mix of nickel and copper, the 1964 nickel was still made from the older 75% copper and 25% nickel blend. These coins were produced during a time when the U.S. Mint was still using a traditional metal combination, but as the 1960s progressed, the cost of producing coins increased, and there were changes to the metal content in many coins. For collectors, this makes coins from the early 1960s, especially the 1964 nickel, significant because they represent a point in time before those changes took place. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The value of the 1964 nickel goes beyond its composition. While many 1964 nickels are still out there, it's the coins that have been preserved in excellent condition, or better yet, those that feature a minting error, that are truly valuable. As with any coin, the condition is key. The 1964 nickel was used extensively in circulation, and most of them have seen a lot of wear and tear. A well-worn coin from this year will not fetch much, but if you manage to find a 1964 nickel in near-perfect or mint condition, it can command a premium price. Now, collectors are always on the lookout for coins with minting errors, small mistakes made by the U.S. Mint during the production process that can make a coin unique and highly sought after. For the 1964 nickel, there are a few notable errors that make these coins even more desirable. One of the most sought-after errors for this year is the double die variety, where the design appears to be struck twice, resulting in a blurry or doubled image on the coin. This is a rare mistake and, when found on a 1964 nickel, can send its value soaring, but that's not all. There are also cases of off-center strikes, where the coin is stamped incorrectly during the minting process. These types of errors are especially prized by collectors because they make the coin stand out from the rest. If you happen to have a 1964 nickel with any kind of minting flaw like this, your coin could be worth a whole lot more than you'd expect. So, how much can a 1964 nickel be worth? Well, it all depends on the coin's condition and whether it has any minting errors. A regular, well-circulated 1964 nickel won't be worth much more than its face value of 5 cents. However, if your 1964 nickel is in mint or near mint condition, or if it has a rare minting error, you could be sitting on a small fortune. The real kicker here is that a 1964 nickel in pristine condition, with a minting error, could be worth an incredible $65,400. That's right, you heard it correctly, $65,400. For a simple 5-cent coin. The value of a 1964 nickel skyrockets when it's in excellent condition or when it has a rare and valuable minting error. So, if you have any 1964 nickels lying around in your collection or even in your change jar, it's time to take a closer look. You could be holding onto a coin that's worth far more than its face value. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that might be sitting in your collection right now, or perhaps even hiding in your pocket change, a 1974 United States 5-cent nickel. Now, you might be thinking, a nickel? That's just a regular coin. But let me tell you, the 1974 nickel could be worth far more than you ever imagined. The United States 5-cent nickel has been around since 1866, with the iconic Jefferson nickel design gracing the coin since 1938. The 1974 nickel features the same classic design, with a portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and an image of his famous home, Monticello, on the reverse. But what makes the 1974 version so special? It all comes down to a few key factors that add value to this seemingly ordinary coin. The 1974 nickel was part of the era when coins were still made with a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This composition was common for many coins of the time, and it's one of the reasons why certain coins from the 1970s, including the 1974 nickel, have become highly sought after by collectors. But there's more to this coin's value than just its metal content. As with any collectible, the condition of the coin is one of the most important factors that determines its value. Coins from the 1970s were regularly used in daily transactions, which means that most of them have suffered from wear and tear over the years. But finding a 1974 nickel in pristine or near-perfect condition is a rare find. These coins weren't always treated with the utmost care, so finding one in excellent shape automatically boosts its value. What makes the 1974 nickel even more interesting is the possibility of minting errors. Minting errors are one of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting, and they can significantly increase the value of a coin. These errors happen when something goes wrong during the production process, resulting in a coin that has a unique flaw. For example, the 1974 nickel might have been struck off-center, creating an unusual appearance that collectors find fascinating. There's also the chance of double dyes, where the design appears twice on the coin, creating a blurry or overlapping effect. Now, why do minting errors matter so much in the world of coin collecting? Well, minting errors make a coin one of a kind, and that rarity is what collectors are after. The more unique the coin, the more valuable it becomes. If you happen to find a 1974 nickel with a minting error, you could be holding onto a rare treasure. It could potentially be worth many times more than a regular coin from the same year. So, how much can a 1974 nickel be worth? The answer to that depends largely on its condition and whether it has any minting errors. A well-worn, everyday 1974 nickel might only be worth a few cents over face value, but if you have a coin that is in excellent or near-perfect condition, or better yet, a nickel with a rare minting error, then the value skyrockets. And here's the jaw-dropping part: a 1974 nickel in top-notch condition, especially one with an error, can be worth an incredible $48,500. Yes, you heard that right, $48,500 for a single 5-cent coin. It's amazing to think that a coin that was once part of your everyday change could now be worth such a large sum. The value of rare coins like the 1974 nickel is driven by their condition, rarity, and the uniqueness of any minting errors they may have. So, if you have a stash of nickels from 1974 or any other year in your collection, it's worth taking the time to examine them carefully. Check for any signs of minting errors, look for signs of wear, and see if you have one in pristine condition. You might just be holding onto a small fortune. Today, we're diving into a coin that might be sitting right in your collection or even buried in your change jar, a 1989 United States 5-cent nickel. Now, you might think, a nickel from the 1980s? It's just another 5-cent coin, but hold on to your seats, because this coin could actually be worth a whole lot more than you ever expected. Let's rewind a little bit. The U.S. 5-cent nickel has a long history, and over the years, it has undergone various design changes. The 1989 nickel is part of the Jefferson nickel series, which has been in circulation since 1938. It features the iconic portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and a depiction of his home, Monticello, on the reverse. By 1989, the design was well established, and the coin was still made with the traditional composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, but, as we all know, not all coins are created equal. While most 1989 nickels might seem pretty standard, there are a few factors that can drastically increase the value of these coins. First and foremost, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value. Like most coins from the 1980s, the 1989 nickel was widely circulated and used in daily transactions. As a result, most of these coins are well worn, with scratches and signs of use. However, finding one in excellent or even uncirculated condition is a rare gem. Now, what about the value of the 1989 nickel if it's in perfect or near perfect condition? That's where things get interesting. Collectors are always on the lookout for coins that have been carefully preserved, as these coins hold much more value than those that have been circulated. If you have a 1989 nickel in uncirculated condition, it could be worth much more than you'd expect, but that's not the only thing that makes the 1989 nickel interesting. There's something even more exciting that can send its value soaring: minting errors. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the production process, leading to unique and often rare characteristics on the coin. For example, you could find a 1989 nickel that was struck off-center, creating an unusual appearance. Or maybe you have one with a double die, where the design is struck more than once, resulting in a blurry or overlapping image. So, why do minting errors matter so much? The answer is simple: rarity. A coin with a minting error is a one-of-a-kind piece, and collectors absolutely love them. These errors are hard to find, and when they do show up, they can dramatically increase a coin's value. In the case of the 1989 nickel, finding one with a minting error is an incredible discovery and can make it worth far more than the standard 5-cent price. Now, let's get to the most exciting part: the value. If you've been holding on to a 1989 nickel and it's in excellent condition, or even better, it has a minting error, you could be sitting on a valuable treasure. The price for a 1989 nickel in top condition, especially with a rare minting error, can reach a jaw-dropping $39,800. Yes, that's right, $39,800 for a single nickel. It's incredible to think that a coin, which is so easy to overlook, could be worth that much. So, if you have a 1989 nickel in your collection, it's time to take a closer look. Check for any signs of wear, see if you can spot any minting errors, and if you find one that's in pristine condition, you could be holding on to a small fortune. Today's video is something you definitely don't want to miss. We're going to talk about a coin that might be sitting in your collection, or maybe even hidden in your change jar, a 1985 United States 5-cent nickel. You may not think much of it at first glance, but let me tell you, this seemingly ordinary nickel could be worth a lot more than you'd expect. The United States 5-cent nickel has been in circulation for centuries, and the 1985 nickel is part of the Jefferson Nickel series. This series, which first debuted in 1938, has seen various designs over the years, but by the time 1985 rolled around, the classic design featuring President Thomas Jefferson's portrait on the obverse and the depiction of his beloved Monticello on the reverse was firmly established. In 1985, the 5-cent nickel was made of the traditional composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This combination gives the coin its characteristic color and durability, which makes it ideal for regular circulation. However, the value of the 1985 nickel goes far beyond its metal content. You may not realize this, but factors such as the coin's condition, rarity, and potential minting errors can significantly influence how much it's worth today. Like many other coins from the mid-1980s, the 1985 nickel was circulated heavily and used in everyday transactions. So, it's common to find these coins in well-worn conditions. However, one of the most exciting things about coin collecting is the hunt for coins in pristine condition. Coins that have been carefully preserved and remain uncirculated are highly desirable to collectors. These coins don't show the wear and tear that most everyday coins do, and they stand out because they look as good as the day they were minted. If you happen to have a 1985 nickel in mint or near mint condition, you've got a much more valuable coin on your hands than you might have thought. But here's where it gets even more exciting: the possibility of minting errors. Minting errors are the result of something going wrong during the coin production process, and they can make a coin much more valuable. For example, a 1985 nickel might have been struck off-center, creating a misalignment in the design. Or perhaps you might find one with a double strike, where the design appears twice on the coin. Some coins have what's known as a clash die, which results in a blurred image of the design because of a collision between the die and another coin during the minting process. These minting errors can turn an ordinary coin into an extraordinary one. Collectors love these rare and unique errors because they add a special element to the coin's story. A minting error can be what makes the difference between a coin worth a few cents and one that commands thousands of dollars at auction. So, how much could a 1985 nickel be worth? If you have one in pristine, uncirculated condition, or if it's a rare minting error coin, you could be sitting on something worth quite a bit. A 1985 nickel in top-notch condition or with a valuable error can fetch an impressive $32,400. Yes, you heard that right, $32,400 for a single 5-cent coin. It's hard to believe that a coin that you've likely come across in your everyday transactions could hold such significant value. But that's the beauty of coin collecting. You never know when you'll stumble upon a hidden gem that could be worth far more than its face value. So, if you've got a collection of coins, especially from the 1980s, now is the time to take a closer look at those 1985 nickels. Check for any signs of minting errors, inspect the condition of the coin, and you might just have a rare and valuable piece sitting right under your nose. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep learning about rare coins, their value, and how to spot hidden treasures, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and happy coin hunting.